Hello, everyone. In this episode, we'll show a couple of applications in finance for using the vision technology. All right, let's see. Um, so first, let me give you a brief introduction of the deep learning, the black boxes, and quantifying the intuitive. So there have been a lot of amazing things, as you know, AlphaGo and generative AI, and given Nobel Prize, and many things. Despite that, economists and finance have been somewhat slow to adopt this technology, and now they are, but there's been always a concern of, for example, being a black box. So, um, one thing from analogy from mechanical engineering that black box can still be very informative and advanced science is the research on the shark skin. The shark skins actually have particular rough surface. It's not actually smooth, which in numerical simulation, they kind of put the grid on here. And what they did was that they run a supercomputer to simulate the water flow around it. And what they found out is that, well, at certain this roughness size here, which actually matches the shark skin's roughness, it turns out that there's a swirl here that makes it act like a lubricant. So the water will flow actually much smoother than a wrong roughness here, which kind of gave the unlocked the secret of why sharks actually can swim much faster than many other kind of fish. Um, and it's because of this roughness. The rough surface actually made them much smoother in the water to glide. And it actually, again, we cannot probably understand individual this grid's equation and coefficients, but collectively we get an insight out of this black box prediction. And it's been used for swimming suits like in 2008 Olympics. People made a rough skinned swimming suit which actually performed so well and the records were breaking. So it subsequently was kind of banned because it measured more than human ability. It measured actually how rich the country is and whether they can afford to actually construct such a swimming suit. So anyway, so this the black box can be very useful, and in this episode here with vision and all this, we'll eventually get there. How this deep learning technology, although you cannot understand each individual neural weight, it can nevertheless be very useful. So first, as a starter from vision technology, finance has been using for a decade already, um, using image from, for example, satellite imagery. Here's an example of, for example, um, a satellite taking pictures and the AI is being used here, for example, to not only count the number of cars, but what kind of car they are. Are they minivans, sedan, pickup truck? And depending on that, they can predict the sales differently. And that is being fed into the stock price predictions and the analyst and so forth. So vision can be actually very vital information these days for financial predictions. Um, Here's a more recent research that is about analyzing the faces of the CEOs, of the borrowers, and many people. And it actually is used in capital decisions. So going back to the history, there is such thing as face reading, and human believe the faces reveal power, character, and future success. We don't call it face reading anymore. We call it artificial intelligence, and hedge funds analyze the CEO facial expressions during earnings call. Venture capital firms analyze pitch videos, and algorithms infer risk tolerance and trustworthiness from the pixels. So let me give some example here. Um, first, in our real life, actually, since people do care about face reading and many things, people actually do plastic surgeries to alter their faces to get an edge ahead of the face reading. So you can see that people actually take it seriously. Um, and there are also startups that analyze faces here, for example, like this company. Um, But here's a research that basically applies to this. So it's AI personality extraction from faces in the labor market implication. So here's a study that looks at many MBA students' faces and then get some characteristics, what we call photo big five, that turns out to be predicting the school rank they're getting in, compensation, job seniority, industry choice, job transition, career advancement. So you can see that it actually, facial expression and reading, it can kind of have a forecasting power of a number of career things. And that. Another more corporate related research is the CEO trustworthiness is kind of measured by the face value of the CEO. So some capture the perceived CEO trustworthiness from the facial readings, like in these methods, and then that actually correlates strongly with the employee ratings, shareholder support in proxy votes, and faster analysis revision of the earnings forecast and many things. So it turns out that the facial readings using artificial intelligence can pick up whether a firm's CEO actually will get an easier time with the shareholders and many things. So it can lead to the corporate decisions. Um, Here's more related to the venture. So actually a similar approach, the facial readings of the founders' photos that actually is related to perceived trustworthiness, dominance, and attractiveness that significantly predicts voices, whether they get funding or not. So face actually matters, whether they get a funding. Also predict the funding amount and follow-on financing, long-term outcomes. And here's a typical bar graph that shows for the VC-backed and no financing, if you think of the founder trust, the VC-backed have higher trust. The attractiveness actually doesn't matter too much, uh, but the power dominance actually matters so that it peaks, right? Okay, here's a yet more advanced study that looks actually analyze the video, and here let me just give a precursor. So outside finance, people have been using measuring deep learning, measuring complex things, and what we call style. Like people trade Beethoven style, Mozart style by feeding a lot of music, or Daft Punk and all this. And style is basically a function, okay? So quantifying a complex process, although it's a black box approach, can be very useful for measuring whether how different is Mozart style from Beethoven style or from Daft Punk and things like that. So style as a function, style is everywhere. It's not music, just music. It's actually in many things like paintings, Van Gogh style. And many important quantities, even in economics, can matter, like management style that we have known. And these days, with deep learning, we can basically unpack these kind of what the management style is, or Fed policies, or in M&A, whether a target company CEO, when you consider taking it over, maybe what would have been, for example, Apple's AI strategy if it were not Tim Cook, but Steve Jobs were alive and doing it, and you can run a lot of counterfactual styles. And so you can see capturing style using deep learning can be a very useful thing. Okay. So here we go. Pitch style, the start of CEO style. There's a study done by this. And here what they do is that they take the Y Combinator's pitch video and they break it down to visual, verbal, vocal, and the word content and deep learn each of them and then combine and take it as a signal. For example, here is a very high visual feature kind of and rather that this is a more toned down, and here's again a high arousal pitch with a low arousal pitch. So you can see that deep learning can pick up these things, and it turns out that that actually predicts funding probability in the Y Combinator. So you can see that even the pitch meeting, show me the video, I can predict whether you'll get money or not, can be done, right? So these are the kind of things that are these days used for visual research in AI, and you can see that it can actually impact the capital decisions. Okay. So anyway, so we have earlier episodes in this channel, so you can take a look how to detect the faces and emotions and these kind of things. So you can do a look at that, or the video analysis in a small version have been replicated in episode 139. Okay, well, thank you for watching this episode.